Hello, hello, and welcome to Circuit Stream's Interaction Design and Prototyping for XR Open House. I hope you're all doing well. I do want to make sure you can all hear me and see me. So in the chat, if you can just thumbs up or yeses, can you hear me and see me? This would be super helpful. I'd hate to continue on without anyone hearing. Emma, yes. Patrick, Z, Liam, Agnes, Queena, Alexandra, perfect. Well, thank you for letting me know. Super excited to be hosting and moderating this open house here alongside Sandra, who I'll be introducing here shortly. Um, I do want to go through some things before we continue on. As you see to the right, there is a chat. Feel free to chat amongst yourselves, toss in some comments. But if you have any questions, please toss them into the questions tab. It helps us organize the questions, see what we haven't answered, and get to them at the Q&A session at the very end. Now, there is also a polls tab, and I'll be tossing in polls throughout this webinar or open house just to gauge the experience of the audience and your thoughts as well. But I see Rudra had a question. Hey, everyone, just confirming this recording will be accessible later. Yes, the webinar will be recorded and sent by email. Thank you for answering that, Z. Now, I'd love to know, where is everyone tuning in from? I myself am from Canada, Calgary, Alberta. Would love to know where you guys are. Ruja's from Toronto, Marin, Austria. We've got Toronto as well, Hawaii, New York, Philly, Quebec, Atlanta, Chicago, Victoria. Perfect. So quite an international audience. Paris as well. Welcome, Sophie. And I love, having people join us from all walks of life, from all areas, to learn more about this tech and potentially getting the skills to be a creator and develop applications yourself. But without further ado, let's continue on. My name is Stefan Licina. I lead partnerships here at Circuit Stream. I have over several years of experience in the tech industry, working with travel IT companies, learning management system providers, ERP and business integration platforms, and now in the beautiful world of XR. And XR stands for extended reality, which is an umbrella term for augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality. Now, interesting fact about myself, I was a member of Water Polo Canada and I trained with the 2008 Beijing Olympic team. Never went to the Olympics, but really enjoyed my time and actually put my skills to use to save a drowning couple in Mexico. So anyone here who's heard of water polo, let me know. I know not many people have, but always great to see those who are familiar about it. Now, today I'll be joined by Sandra Feng, and Sandra is an AR VR product designer and prototyper. She's done work in industrial design and has a jewelry design background. She's half designer, half developer, and focused on user-centric utility software design in XR. Now, what is the breakdown here today? Well, I'll take a few minutes to introduce you all to Circuit Stream for those who are new to Circuit Stream. And what is XR design? Some key points to keep in mind, and that will help you wrap your head around it. Then we'll have Sandra also speak to XR design, share some tips and recommendations for getting started in this field and as an XR designer. And then we'll share more about the course and program, how to register for it, in our live Q&A session at the very end. And again, this is all recorded and will be sent out to registrants by email afterwards. So who is Circuit Stream? What do we do? Well, Circuit Stream started in 2015 when we noticed the gap in helping people learn how to build VR and AR experiences, because everyone was kind of jumping into it, but no means to really learn more about it. And we've always had a focus on education. And since 2015, we've reached over 45,000 learners worldwide and globally. And our team is quite diverse and located around the world. We are headquartered out of Calgary, Alberta, where I am. However, we have colleagues all over North America, South America, UK, Europe, and even further out east in Asia. Now, our instructors and team maintain the highest level of certifications possible. The certified expert programmer, professional programmers. Circuit Stream itself is an authorized training partner by Unity and a channel partner, and our instructors are certified instructors as well. And with that focus on education, we have a few different courses that we offer. And today we'll be focusing on that interaction design and prototyping for XR course. But we do offer development courses and a boot camp for those who are looking to learn more about Unity. Now, the development and design course are 10 weeks long. I'll dive into the design course a little later, whereas the bootcamp is 24 weeks long and much more intensive, a career track and focus to help you land your job or a career in XR or Unity development. Now, today we'll be discussing the interaction design and prototyping for XR course, but before we get into that, I do want to share more about how we've helped others learn these skills and build their own experiences. We've had the pleasure to work with some of the top companies and businesses worldwide, from YouTube, Meta, Microsoft, Google, and even Hershey's, the chocolate company. So you best believe that that chocolate is going to be delicious sometime soon. And not only do we train enterprises, but we train individual learners as well, like some of you who are joining us here today. And in addition to that, we also partner with universities to deliver our courses and programs in specific areas and geographies. So if you're located in any of these areas, you're more than welcome to register through the university and get a certification through them as well. Now, why XR? Why is there a need to kind of learn this, or what's the value? Well, there are so many industries embracing this technology, from media and entertainment, architecture, automotive and fashion, healthcare, you name it, it can probably be applied to those industries. And it's growing since, the last couple of years, especially when the pandemic hit. There's been a big need for virtual trainings, meetings, really anything virtual. And this is where the technology really stepped in to help. Now, I love to share these facts and statistics, really just to show the trends and the growth potential. Now, Price Waterhouse, in their report Seeing is Believing, mentioned that almost 24 million jobs will be using AR or VR by 2030 for training, collaboration, and to provide new digital experiences. And another one by Citi, in Metaverse and Money, Decrypting the Future, they mentioned that the metaverse represents a potential 8 trillion to 13 trillion opportunity by 2030 and could boast as many as 5 billion users. So a lot of room to grow, a great time to start diving into this, learning more about it, because the potential for growth is huge. Now, learning these skills is an advantage. Not only is the potential for growth huge, but we've seen statistics shared by Hire.com that there was 1,400% AR VR job growth in 2020, 601% demand growth for real-time 3D skills, and 122 demand for proficiency with 3D engines expected to grow in the next 10 years. But let's dive into what is XR design, because this is really what it's all about. I'd love to take this moment to invite Sandra Feng onto the stage here as we dive into what is XR design. Then she'll share her stories, tips, and recommendations. And afterwards, we'll touch on the courses and programs. So you can see, if this is something you'd like to learn more about, get the skills, and start creating your own experiences. Hey, Sandra, I see you're on stage here. How are you?
Hi, Stephen. Thank you for inviting me. I'm doing well. Super excited to speak here today. And hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you. It's great to have you here. So the first thing that I want to share around, what is XR design, is that XR design is a new, it is essentially a new technology, and many people are trying it for the first time. And because of that, it's important that XR teams really make these experiences as accessible as possible. And a fact that I wanted to share with you was a survey in 2018 found that the biggest barrier and challenge for both AR and VR adoption was really poor UX design. And with that, there's a massive demand for creative UX designers to create the standard for VR and AR, because really it was just 2D screens before a mouse and a keyboard. Now, for the other point I wanted to share, XR design is really, involved with UX, making those XR experiences as intuitive and natural as possible. And again, bad UX in AR and VR was one of the main reasons why this technology is not as popular as it could be. And the main difficulty is that the XR space has, again, very few defined standards. So, huge opportunity for XR designers. And we've seen a large interest in designers or developers looking to get into design to start building and working with teams for XR design or XR projects. And the last one that I want to share, and I'll have Sandra jump in here later as well, is XR designers research and take feedback from audiences. So essentially, they're redesigning the UX to minimize issues, solve friction points and frustrations. And I've added a few examples here to show you of, what XR designers typically look for or some of the solutions they provide. So for instance, allowing users to move in your simulation or experience without moving in the physical space. So, because some users have a limited area to move around, a great way to solve this issue is teleportation. Now, another one is avoiding flashes of colors. Why? Because some users may be more sensitive to, colors or lights that are flashing and can give them motion sickness. And the last example I want to share is accessibility. That's super, super important for all XR projects and experiences. You need to make sure, sizes and contrasts are visible to a wide range of different people that are going to be, experiencing that. For instance, using subtitles for people who can't hear or don't have audio. Sandra, I know there was something you wanted to elaborate here on as well, so feel free to jump in.
Yes, thank you so much, Stephen, for this great introduction in XR design. So what I want to add to it is that I really agree with you with right now, a blocker in XR adoption is a poor UX experience. And a lot of often when you explore a XR software such as remote work software or productivity software, um, there's a lot of friction. And why? Because a lot of times these companies don't really have a designer or UX designer to help them prototype and design. And often these apps are just created by a dev. So there's a lot of gaps in this industry that it really needs a UX designer and XR designers to help improve, I guess. So one key thing is right now in this industry, because it's so new, there's really no standard, as Stephen mentioned, such as when you see an icon, how does it behave? If you think about today's app interaction with phone, mobile phone and tablet, the interactions are pretty much defined. As a user, we have already learned how to use these tools, right? We already know. We don't really need to learn how to interact. But in XR, we don't know. And a lot of the times, the apps are designed after or designed with a controller in mind. But when you think about controller, it's primarily used in games. So you play games with controllers, right? So think about in a work setting, let's say I want to build a 3D tool in VR, or sorry, a 3D model in VR. It's kind of weird to use a controller because I'm not really playing a game. So there are a lot of innovations and standards that need to be addressed in the industry. So I think this is great that you guys are here today to find out more about XR design, and then we need creative minds like you guys to help push the industry forward.
Awesome. Thanks, Sandra. And one thing I also wanted to share with the audience here today around, XR design and really just to wrap their heads around it is our kind of double diamond process that we put together here at Circuit Stream. So essentially, XR designers fall under kind of the first half of the double diamond process. They essentially focus on the problem and define it, discovering and defining. So, discovering is to understand the what and the why an XR application is needed. For instance, observing human behavior and trying to understand how users would behave in the application. So in this phase, designers need to know what is the nature of the problem. And when defining it, this is where you go deeper and find answers to some of those burning questions about what should be included, what matters most, what is realistic. And a good designer will think about the user first and adapt the application around them and not the other way around. And I'd like to say that designers really think about the striking balance between user problems and business opportunities and solving them through intuitive and seamless experiences. So hopefully that helps out. And with that, I'd love to ask you, Sandra, as we have you here with me today. We'd love to hear your story and journey, how you got into this, and tips and recommendations for the audience, and any remarks. But let's start with the story and journey.
Yeah, so I've gone through a couple of career transitions in my life. So I started I learned in university around industrial design and jewelry design. So I studied mostly in a 3D environment, and I was really interested in 3D modeling at the time. So after school, I designed and sold my fine jewelry pieces in museum in Canada, but I was not very familiar with business. I wasn't sure how business works, and I was also very curious about the tech industry. So I got into business development for a number of tech startups and e-commerce agencies, and then where I worked cross-functionally with a lot of founders, engineers, and designers. So fast forward 3 years later, in 2021, as a creative, I feel like I've learned enough business. So I started to prepare my career transition back to design. That's when I started to do a lot of research in the creative industry, and XR industry really stood out. So I guess you asked why. So it's a new industry with a lot of potentials that we just mentioned. And another thing is, very interestingly, you notice a lot of the big players like Meta, Facebook, Qualcomm, Microsoft, all these big players are investing heavily into the XR development. And that kind of gives you a hint where this is where these big companies are trying to compete with each other and trying to be the dominant force in this industry. So, and personally, I also really believe the vision that one day extended reality will be used in every aspect of life. Like what we saw in the sci-fi movies, I really believe
Yeah.
that will come true. Yeah, so that's why I made the jump and started learning.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing. And for those who are interested in getting into this, and we've got some great questions we'll get to in a bit here. Any tips or recommendations for folks who might be new to XR, new to UX in general, and want to get into XR?
Ooh, so I think, yeah, it really depends on where you are in your design journey. Let's say you are very brand new to design. I think where a good place to start is to understand the core components of XR design. So it's XR and design, although these are combined. So you need to understand the core design principles, such as what Stephen just mentioned, the double diamond approach, design thinking. So you need to understand that and also have a good understanding of UI. Although you might not be a UI designer in XR, but you need to understand how our icons or buttons and everything ordered in a visually logical way. And then after that, there's also the XR component that you have to learn, and there's are various tools for you to dig into. And what's really important is, if you're really interested in XR design, you have to get a headset. You have
Right.
to try it to understand what people are talking about. So that will give you a good way to get started.
Perfect. And any final remarks you'd like to share before we go and touch on the courses and programs and share more about those?
Another thing I would say is just try to find a mentor. If you can't find a mentor, try talk to people on LinkedIn who are in the industry. Say, hey, I'm very new in this. Can you give me some tips? How can I get started? How should I approach learning this? What are the pitfalls? I think with a bit of a mentorship or maybe someone to help you along the way would make your journey a lot easier.
Perfect. And we have a question here from Sue quickly. Which
Mhm.
headset would you recommend to start with?
Oh, Oculus Quest. I'd say Oculus Quest 2. So that's the most accessible headset with a really, I guess, more economical price point. And more importantly, it has a variety set of apps and most amount of, I guess, integrations or SDKs that you can design and use with.
Hmm. Perfect. Well, I want to ask the audience here. I'm going to toss in a poll, and I probably should have done it earlier. I'd like to ask you, so feel free to go to the polls tab. What is your goal by learning more about XR design? So I've just published the poll there. Feel free to go to the poll and check it out. But curious to know, is it you want to get a job, you want to bring it back to work, a hobby of yours? Very curious to see what you're all kind of interested in potentially doing with XR design. So it looks like a lot of get a job, broaden my knowledge, bring it back to work, and start my own business as well. Very interesting. So I'll be sure to check out the final results at the end there. But thank you, Sandra. I'm going to share my screen here again.
Okay.
There it is. Perfect. So let's dive into the course and program. So, the Interaction Design and Prototyping for XR course is a 10-week program that will help you explore how to design new experiences for AR, VR, and MR. Now, you'll be equipped with the best practices and fundamental toolbox to create intuitive and immersive user interfaces. And we will cover a range of topics such as best UX and usability practices, visual design, prototyping, and VR interactions while giving you the theory behind XR design. And with this, how it's structured is it's 10 weeks long with 2 classes per week. Each class is an hour and a half for a total of 3 hours of live class instruction. Now, every day there's an open office hour for additional support if anyone wants to take advantage of that. And it is part time. So we have most of our learners do come in as, employees, or they are employed, and they'll take the classes in the evenings or in the mornings because there's a morning session, an afternoon session, and an evening session. And this is what the breakdown looks like for the course and the program. We'll cover UX and interaction design. We'll go into prototyping with a tool called Shapes XR. We'll then get used to the Unity engine and how to work with that. We'll cover prototyping immersive worlds with Unity as well, creating interfaces, and then we cover other tools as well. Prototyping with MRTK, the Microsoft tool, and Figma, prototyping with Adobe Aero, as well as Meta's Spark AR. Now, about these tools, because they are quite important, I'd love Sandra to kind of chime in and share more about why these tools are of value when designing experiences.
Yeah, thank you so much, Stephen. Um, I guess I'll start from the top with Unity 3D. So this is a Unity 3D is a game engine where a lot of game studios use Unity 3D to design games and build games. But bes- besides that, it's also a great tool for you to design apps. It's basically an object-based app development tools for you to play around. So why this is important for designers to learn is because right now there really isn't a tool that can replace Unity at this early stage of XR journey. So if you wanted to illustrate a interaction idea, interaction design, you have to use 3D Unity 3D to prototype. Um, so yeah, and another thing is once you learn Unity 3D, it gives you the toolbox or the vocabulary to talk to developers on your team. So this will give you a strong advantage in the job market. And Figma, obviously, it's a widely used UX and UI tool where everybody can collaborate. Right now, in terms of the 2D work, such as logos or buttons, UI work is primarily still be done in Figma. And then there's the integration of Figma and Unity, the export and import are pretty smooth. Um, and Shapes XR is a great tool. So Shapes XR aims to be the Figma in XR. It will get there, but right now Shapes XR is primarily used as a collaboration tool for remote teams. B, like a gray boxing tool for you to visualize spatial relationships between each objects, to visualize the proportion, as well as building quick 3D models, which you can use later on in Unity 3D. Now, I also want to talk a little bit about Spark AR. So Spark AR is an interesting tool where I'm sure everybody's tried filters on Instagram. So these filters, which that changes your face shape, that makes you look like a monster or has a little thing standing on your shoulder, those are filters that are all made using Spark AR. So you can imagine of using this tool to quickly whip up an augmented reality experience on mobile. And in terms of MRTK, MRTK is a great tool to use for mixed reality designs where you can interact with a hologram and then do a lot of really cool stuff. So MRTK is a really great tool if you want to focus on utility software experience. So I'm a huge fan of MRTK, where you can make interesting enterprise software if you're interested in that domain. And then lastly, but not least, Adobe Aero adds a great tool to design digital content, I guess, on mobile and as well as a tablet. So AR, augmented reality, is another great I guess field for designers, because right now we have a lot of commercial or for e-commerce AR filters for you to, let's say, view merchandise, shoes, cosmetics, and then or to measure your room, to measure the height, to visualize how a furniture would look in my living room. So these are all great use cases for augmented reality. So yeah, I'm really excited to be teaching these tools, and then also teach you how to use it through the lens of a designer and how you can tinker with these tools to visualize your design ideas.
Awesome. Thank you, Sandra. So, essentially we'd love to provide all the best tools and practices to help everyone be a successful creator, designer, to build any experience VR or AR related. And the course and program really will help you and the outcomes of it to understand the process of designing for XR and how it differs from designing for web and mobile software, learning the best practices and patterns of design applied to immersive environments, and really understanding the usability considerations when designing for immersive experiences. So again, we try and provide all the tools, the best ones you can work with, and we're here to support any way we can. So thank you, Sandra, for joining. I'll invite you back up for the Q&A session at the end here. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
For those of you here, if you do have any questions, feel free to toss them in the questions tab. I see there's 4 for us to get to here. But with that, I will continue on, probably take another 5 minutes or so, and then we'll dive into the Q&A session. So with that, we help people from all walks of life, and we've supported folks getting into Oculus's Launchpad program for 3 consecutive years, and even people get into organizations and companies such as Bungie, Electronic Arts, or even Microsoft. Now, for those of you who are interested in just checking out the syllabus, or even speaking to one of our team members and asking them some questions, you can go through any of our university links, and partners, or straight to Circuit Stream as well. Now, again, the design course starts on July 13th, so there is some time for you to, see, research, check out the syllabus, or speak with our team. And again, it's 10 weeks long with up to 80 hours of live instruction, 3 hours every week in class, with 5 hours weekly of open office hours for additional support. Now, if you're in the BC area and we want to go through the University of British Columbia, they have the course also starting on July 13th. Similarly, in Toronto, U of T, San Diego University starts July 13th, as well as the University of California, Riverside, and the University of Nevada, Reno. Now, there's no experience required here, though some UX knowledge is preferred. If you're completely new, it's a steeper learning curve, but no worries at all. A lot of people do join in and learn about this, so have no fear. We welcome everyone from all walks of life. And if you're interested in registering, we have a starter pack that includes the course for $39.50, payment plans available as well, or financing options through Climb for US citizens, or a plus package, which includes a C# course that I'd recommend to take afterwards, and 10 hours of private one-on-one sessions with one of our designers or developers at $49.50. And there's 3-month plans, 6-month plans, or 12-month plans that you can take advantage of. Now, this also includes a lifetime XR community with other like-minded folks, developers, and designers. Again, office hours, even after you finish your time with us, you're able to take advantage of these daily open office hours and various events, coffee hours, show and tell, demo days, game jams, local meetups, and speaker events with XR companies. So again, if you're interested, I know Z shared the links there in the chat. You can screenshot this here as well. But with that, I do also want to mention, if you don't want to dive into a long 10-week course, we actually just announced an XR Design Power course. So this is more so for folks who want to maybe take a little step before diving completely into it. If you're completely new to UX design or even XR in general, take a look at this one. This is a great way to work your way towards the longer 10-week course and program. Now, this one is expected to start in August. Our July cohort and course did sell out, but do join the waiting list and we'll keep you updated with all the information around it. Again, a great intro to this if you're not looking to dive into a full 10-week course and program. So with that, I'd love to invite Sandra onto the stage here, get into some Q&A, and again, any other questions, do let us know, everyone. We'd be happy to touch up on them. So hello, Sandra. Thanks for joining.
Hello, Stephen.
So I have a question here from David Cruz, and David's asking, why only Unity development and not other development software? Well, if you're talking about that XR development course, Unity is one of the most popular engines out there, widely used. Hence why we do focus on Unity, but we also recently released a short course for the Unreal Engine. Now, the design course does touch up on Unity, but a lot of other tools as well that we shared earlier today. So hopefully that helps, David, but do let us know if I did miss something here. Now we have one from Christine. Would love to know how to get started with XR while being new to UX in general. Still learning skills from a bootcamp and doing self-projects. Tips for incorporating XR into projects? Thank you. So Sandra, I'll let you answer this one if that's all right.
Hello. Yeah, this is a great question. I guess you're probably still building your portfolio. I think that's a great way to start incorporating XR into your portfolio. Probably think about a piece in your portfolio, or ask yourself a design challenge question, such as how might XR help people to work better together across the world, and then use that to anchor your thinking in UX. Start with user research or start with a persona, solve this problem, and then think about that will just actually get your head around thinking about XR. that as a first step. And then you will realize, oh, I need to learn this tool. I need to be able to do this better, such as prototyping better. So that will anchor you and then help you find a direction into learning XR. So really start thinking about XR and design around XR would really help you. And another thing, maybe start learning Shapes XR or taking courses like this, bootcamp courses like this, and then we can get your head or start to think and work around in this mindset.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing, Sandra. Now, again, you touched up on something super important, which is solving a challenge or an issue, right? That's probably one of the most important things. And if you can speak to it and design some solutions around it, that would only help you further. So, great question. Let us know if there's anything else you'd like us to expand on. But I will hop over to the next. Actually, let's check out the chat here. Um, Entry level salaries or so yeah, I'm going to share our blogs page with you all here today. That's what I was opening up in the background. We do have some XR design development blogs, how to get started in it. There's some salary ranges and information there, so do check it out, have a quick scan. I think that will help a lot. So one here from Justin, and Justin's asking, any best practices in moderated user testing with users in XR while they're wearing the head-mounted display? Any
Mm-hmm.
insights here, Sandra?
That's a tough question. There are tools that you can use that sort of monitor user engagement. So you can use these tools. Right now, user testing is still a challenge in XR, and it's an area that needs to be solved. But I guess one way would just be old-fashioned conversation, right, or observation. Have them use the headset and then ask them questions. How do you feel? Or observe, or have them just talk about what they see, talk through their experience. That will help you identify the gaps, such as, oh, I see a 3D object. Maybe you want to find out, will the user just go grab it using their hand, or would the user tend to still use the controller to try to interact with it? What would the user do? So these are basic user testing areas that still need to be can be addressed by the old-fashioned observation way of user approach, I guess.
Perfect. Thank you. Hopefully that
Does
helped
that
out
answer
as
your
well.
question? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Justin,
Awesome.
give us a shout if that helps. But thank you, Sandra. I appreciate it as well. Let's see. Alberto's asking, I'm really interested specifically in AR. What do you think about Reality Composer? Is it a great tool to start with AR experience design? I'm not too familiar with the tool myself, but are you, Sandra?
Me neither. I'm just gonna do a quick look. Reality Composer. Um, Very
Very
interesting.
interesting. Yeah. So take a look at it, Sandra. We'll get back to this question here, Alberto. Let's see. Perfect. So I'll hop over to the next one in the meantime. Christine's asking, do you recommend this course for those newish to UX, or is this more catered to those who have worked in UX already? So, I mean, having a UX background does help. It is beginner friendly. It will be a lot of, learning outside of classes on your own. Maybe that power course that I shared earlier might be a good start to start wrapping your head around things. But simply answer your question, yes, those who are newish to UX, because we have two different instructors, I believe, maybe even three in that design course. One who actually created the UX for XR toolkit, and she really dives into the fundamentals of UX and everything else you need to know as you're also thinking about designing for XR. So hopefully that helps, Christine. But great question. Now, Chaz is asking, when is the next cohort in case I can't make this one? So if you can't make the July 13th one, we do hold it every 2.5 months or so. So that would be probably around September, October, if I'm not mistaken. And again, we hold 5 or 6 of these cohorts per year. So after July 13th, I would probably say it would be towards the end of September, if I'm not mistaken. Sandra, did you get more information on the Reality Composer.
Reality Composer. Yeah, it's one of these new tools. This is another thing about the XR industry. There are new tools coming out like literally every
All the
day or
time.
every
Yeah.
week, all the time. So it really, you can't keep up with it. So I'm not familiar with this tool, but just by glancing, take a quick glance on the App Store, it seemed pretty interesting of what you can achieve. It looks like it's gotten good like simulation functionality where you can build quick games. I'd say it's still useful, but if you want something that's powerful where you can fully customize, you need stronger tools such as Spark AR or Adobe Aero, where you can do scripting, where you can import your own asset, things like that.
Perfect. Great question, Alberto. We always learn something new, and that's why we're always updating curriculums and adding new content to stay up to date with everything that's coming up. But thank you for sharing. I see Michelle here had something in the chat section. Hand tracking applications might also aid in better understanding UX and engagement, as well as additional UX research, including observational interviews, task-based testing, focus group surveys. Yes, very true, Michelle. Thanks for sharing. Okie dokie. So let's hop over to Patrick's question. Patrick was asking, what are some fundamental skills VR, XR, AR hirers or employers are looking for? So Sandra, focusing on design, what are some of the fundamental skills you'd say are you know appealing or in need or something that employers are looking for?
Yeah, I would summarize it into three skill sets. A is the research aspect of it, where you would understand user needs and wants and then translate that into a design idea. Second one would be your understanding of spatial relationships. So you need to understand 3D spaces. So a good way to level up in this area, maybe take a course or even watch a YouTube video on perspectives. So problem with a lot of 2D designers that they don't understand perspectives. That can definitely cause some problems there. And then the third thing would be the prototyping skills, where you need to understand how to even visualize your design ideas, because just drawing on 2D surface is not going to do it anymore for XR design. So you have to understand these tools. Shapes XR, great tool to learn. Unity 3D, if you know this tool as a designer, you will definitely stand out during the hiring process.
Perfect. Hopefully that helps, Patrick. And then on the development side, C# for Unity, C++ for Unreal, the programming, maybe some mathematical stuff, but portfolio is a big thing. If you have a large portfolio, whether it's volunteer work, things you build in the course and program here at CircuitStream or elsewhere, having a portfolio to show your work, speak to it, and how you kind of went about it is probably the biggest thing that employers are looking for.
Agree.
So Marin here has a question. If you want to join the full bootcamp course and have no C# experience, is it recommended to do the XR development with Unity course first? Simply yes. We will knock off the price of the bootcamp by the price of that XR development course. So that's what we do suggest. Whether you go out, learn it on your own, or you want to quickly finish it up in 10 weeks with us, we do recommend doing that first, or learning it on your own and then diving into the bootcamp afterwards. Emma's question. Emma's asking, what is your favorite XR personal project? What is your dream project you still want to create? So I'll leave this for you, Sandra.
That's such an interesting question. So on my website, I have this called Immerse here. So it's a tool where I try to envision a new photo album in XR world, where on your phone you open up a photo album, you see all the squares, and you can open it and play with it. So I was thinking, oh, how might XR improve this experience? So I asked myself, so I started building this experience in MRTK, where I have a 3D or panorama photo in there, where you can actually be in the photo and in the environment. So the vision for this, as it evolve, hopefully, will be using volumetric I'm throwing a lot of terms here. Volumetric photos or videos where you actually feel like you're in the environment where it's actually three-dimensional. So I think that's the next phase for this project. Yeah, and a lot exciting things will happen in the future. And I guess my dream project, I have this crazy idea of how will we visualize data in XR. So all these very boring topics and very boring questions. How might we, if you look at today on 2D, you look at a graph to calculate your conversion rate if you're in business, or how many people visited my site. But how can we, in an augmented, extended reality, to show this data in a more compelling way to make it tell a more powerful story? Yeah.
Super exciting. Thanks, Sandra. Great question, Emma. I always love hearing these stories. We have one from Damilola. Damilola, I'll toss the link into the chat because if you go to this specific article that I share, you'll be able to find a lot of different salary ranges. And her question, briefly for everyone, was what is the range for entry level salaries for an XR designer? And is there any support for positioning for these jobs after the course has been completed? So, check out that blog that I shared in the chat for the entry level salaries. But in terms of support afterwards, the bootcamp itself has career services built within it. The 10-week courses and programs, they don't have dedicated career services, but again, we have a large network and community of thousands of people who've gone through our programs, are working at different companies. So, we always help to introduce you to folks or different companies in our network, and you're more than welcome to leverage the community any way you can to work and collaborate on projects, ask about any positions that are open. We do share roles that come through us by our hiring partners. So there is an element there. We do our very best to support all of our learners. Great question as well, Damilola. So one here from Chaz. Chaz asking, does being a member of the VRARA Association make one eligible for discounts? I know it used to be the case. Great question, Chaz. I do remember that as well when maybe a couple years ago. You know what? Let me look into it. I'm actually going to take down your name here and I'll be sure to follow up because I'm curious to know myself if I ever get this question again. But yes, typically we did have something in place and I'm sure we would be able to honor it again. So one here from Shashikant. Shashikant is asking, how will AR VR affect architecture? How do you see this combination growing in near future? So I can quickly touch up on it. Sandra, if you want to jump in later on, feel free. But one thing I actually saw and found super interesting was um, architects kind of sketching up these models and plans in a 3D environment and then seeing what the flow of people would look like when it's populated. So understanding how people would move around the building or whatever it may be that the architect constructed, and understanding that making any changes required. So that's one cool thing that I saw previously. But Sandra, if you want to jump in and share something as well, I'm sure that'd be great.
Yeah, I definitely think XR could push the industry further. There are tools. It's called Archeo. It's actually dedicated for architecture development and as well as interior design. It's extremely powerful. I recommend you guys to check it out. But yeah, XR. So if you think about, you can build or design an architecture in like this reality, like virtual reality. How much power do you have, right? So I definitely think XR is going to become an integral part into this industry in the future.
Perfect. Thank you, Sandra. Let's hop over to the next one. This one's from Sylvia. Sylvia is asking, I have the feeling that often UX and 3D modeling are considered as the same position when talking about XR. Is there actually a chance to land a job in this field only related to UX without being a great 3D artist? So I'm going to say yes, but I'm going to give it to Sandra first to elaborate on that further.
So 3D artists and UX are two different things, first of all. So 3D artists usually spend most of their times in Blenders, Maya, create 3D models, textures, and all this stuff. UX are very different. You consider user experience, user flow, uh, how to make the user experience better when you when you play a game, when you use a software in XR environment. So you don't have to be a 3D artist, but you need to understand 3D principle by designing experience in XR and VR. So this is my recommendation, because usually when you go find a job or when you talk to a company, they already have a bunch of 3D artists, and they're really, because you don't want to compete with 3D artists because it takes a lot of time, right? But what you will fit in is the UX and prototyping portion of it to actually do the interaction part of the design.
Exactly what I was thinking. They are two different things. So exactly that. You don't need to be a great 3D artist or even a 3D artist at all to
Yeah.
be a UX XR designer. Great question. Thank you. Thank you. One here from Alex. Alex is asking, what interests me most about learning XR design is the possibility of being able to work with UX design, visual design, and coding all at once, although this is a pretty huge scope to learn. Inside the XR industry, is it better to be a generalist or a specialist in one or a few areas? That's a great question. Sandra, what are your thoughts there?
Oh, I think, well, okay, it depends on what kind of companies you want to join, or what kind of job or situation you want it to be. If you want to be a freelancer, you definitely want to be a generalist where you know everything. Um, if you want to join a smaller startup, which a lot of the companies are right now in this industry, you probably also want to be a generalist where you just know a little bit about everything so you can provide value. But if you wanted to join a larger company like Meta, then they have very specific roles for each of these things, and then you need to know where you fit in. So it depends on your strategy, but I would say the more you know, the better and more value you can provide.
Agreed. Yeah. So, again, the larger companies typically look for specialists, but if you are a specialist, let's say in design, it's also very good to know, how the development side works as well, so you can better design your experiences or better communicate things with different teams. And so I kind of say both in a way, right? Being a specialist, but having a general knowledge of everything else that's happening. So one from Damilola again. While there are many platforms, MRTK and Spark, which of these are industry leading the most? I assume. What would you say, Sandra, in terms of who's kind of more popular or leading the way?
These two tools focus on different segments of the market in the industry. So I wouldn't say they compete with each other at all. So MRTK is very mixed reality and enterprise driven platform. So the kind of software that MRTK does is like help mechanics to assemble a car, or they want to design an art like an architecture, a building, or these are a very enterprise driven utility tools, where Spark AR is very consumer based B2C sort of AR filter tool where you can use it with a phone. So depends on what where you want to focus on your career. Um, I think yeah, you can choose which platform to consider. But my advice still in this new industry, know and learn as many tools as you can will give you an advantage.
Perfect. Yeah, and I think you hit the nail right on the head. MRTK, good to know, more enterprise focused. Spark AR, more consumer focused. So really depends what you're looking for, Damilola, but also a great question. This one's from Praise. Praise, does Sandra Feng offer private mentorship? Uh, hey, dude.
I've so I just wrapped up a big project and I'm about to teach at Circuit Stream. I offer mentorship here through Circuit Stream, and I'm about to start a full-time job next week. So I hope I have time for private mentorship, but in the near term, uh, probably not. But feel free to message me on LinkedIn. I'll always answer any questions.
Great question, Praise. And we do also offer private one-on-one session packages as well. So saying that Sandra will be with us, if you wanted to sit down with Sandra, weekly, bi-weekly, whatever schedule you'd like, we do have those available as well. So you can reach out to us and we'd be happy to share more about it. And then it looks like this may be the last question. This one's from Ahmad, and Ahmad's asking, are there roles in XR for product managers? Or is it expected for now that you or everyone is able to design, develop in 3D? Uh, so yeah, there are definitely XR product managers, product designers, so many roles right now, and even roles we don't know of that haven't yet been created. Game development, design using Unity or other tools, simulation engineers, innovation specialists and engineers, so many. But yes, to answer your question, Ahmad, there is XR product manager roles out there, and I think I've seen a lot more come up since the last year or so. But great question. If anyone else has any questions, do toss them in. I'll give it a minute or so. Let's see what we have in the chat here. Beauty. Lots of LinkedIn profiles being shared. Love to see people connecting with each other. But with that, I'll slowly start wrapping things up. Oh, question. Beauty. Awesome. Christine is asking, are there any example portfolios for the projects completed in this course? Yes, Christine, not a problem at all. We can send that to you. Let me grab your name here as well, and we'll shoot it over your way. So let me make sure I toss it in. Perfect. Great question, Christine. And if you do speak with one of our enrollment advisors, they're super friendly. You can always ask them to share some of the projects that recent students have created or some of the alumni from years ago. Okie dokie. Anytime, Christine. I would love to see the successful projects as well. Emma, lovely. Let me make sure I copy your name down too. But yes, happy to help. Awesome. Nan as well. Beauty. Let's see who else would be interested in that. I'm sure everyone would be interested. If you are, reach out to myself on LinkedIn. Reach out to any of our Circuit Stream members. Anyone would be more than happy. So I'll have this chat open. I'm gonna wait another minute just so people can toss in the me toos or send it to me as well. And then this chat will be saved for us here at Circuit Stream. So we'll dive into it and make sure we get everyone's names there. But awesome. Any last minute questions before we wrap up here? We'll leave it open as well. And you know what? I'll just share my email too, so everyone could just could email me as well if they're interested in any of the projects to check out. That way we're not killing time here. So I'm going to toss in my email in the chat. Feel free to email myself. Happy to share any resources, examples, information with you, or connect you to one of our enrollment advisors. But I'll take a moment so everyone can copy my email. Anything you need, give me a shout. Happy to help. But with that, I will slowly start wrapping up. I see Phil is typing. Yeah, I'd love to see the projects too. Awesome. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us today on this open house. I hope it was informative. A lot of great questions today. Always helps us see what people are looking for as they're asking these. And Sandra, thank you so much for your time today. It was a pleasure and an honor to have you join us.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me, Stephen. And I'm super excited to teaching this course, and I hope I'll see some of you guys in this course too.
Thanks again, everyone. Have a wonderful, morning, day, evening, night, wherever you're located in the world. And again, please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Take care. Thank you again, and hope to see you all sometime soon. Bye.
Bye.